very grateful to be with you here today. Especially these past few days of my life I've been traveling all over the place. Last Thursday morning, I celebrated my 21st anniversary of priesthood. And I think my brother priest can attest to it. My, does the time fly. And how graced we are, because it is the Lord who provides us those gifts. And fittingly, I celebrated my anniversary, not even in Steubenville, or not even in Detroit, where I come from, where I grew up. Yeah, the bishop had to do a shout out. There's no question about that. I celebrated actually in the grotto, which is a fancy way in the church to say the basement of St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. And I was there in Italy for a few days, and actually it was for work, believe it or not, and I brought my mom with me. Yes, bishops have mothers. We don't come out of the ground. And I thought it was fitting because I thought back in terms of my mom and dad. My father passed away nearly 12 years ago, but how my mom and dad would take my brothers and me to church. And my being the oldest, of course, I had to set an example for my brothers, which I think I poorly did in church. I was one who would fidget a lot. We used to have a clip. We used to sit in pews, and the old pews used to have little clips right in front of you to hold the hats for the gentlemen when they came into church. For little kids like me, it was a percussion instrument. I'm surprised my hand is not permanently red from being hit. Little did my mom know, though, my mom and dad, that years later, I'd be celebrating Mass in the basement of St. Peter's, or to be the Bishop of Steubenville, or to be ordained a priest in Michigan. Brings back great memories. Well, you know, the day after, on that Friday, was also another anniversary. It was the third anniversary of what I affectionately call the phone call. Now, I will not go into the story because many here at Franciscan have heard it at least 57 times. But the bottom line is, the day after my 18th anniversary as a priest, when I was out at St. Andrew's in Rochester, I just became pastor there, I got a phone call from the Apostolic Nuncio, which is another fancy word or phrase for the Pope's ambassador to the United States. And he informed me that Pope Benedict wished to appoint me Bishop of Steubenville, and what was my answer? Well, it's obvious, isn't it now? But it was humbling, and it certainly, again, brought me to the point of, I'm a little anxious here. I said yes, of course, but I had to have faith. Do not be afraid, just have faith. And then more recently, just last April, the end of April in 2014, I had my first opportunity to visit with Pope Francis. I was in Rome for the canonizations of St. John Paul II and St. John the 23rd. And I had a chance to visit with Pope Francis at a papal audience, and my question is, what am I going to say? I do not want to be known as the stupid bishop from Steubenville. So I came up, and as many of us have learned, keep it brief, and I did. We spoke in a little Italian, told him I would pray for him, and I left. But each one of those moments, certainly the first one with my mom at St. Peter's, reflecting on my going to church with my mom and dad, or my introducing my mom and dad to St. John Paul the Great, reminded me not to be afraid, just to have faith. And to remind me also that I am a JP2 priest, I am a Benedict bishop, and I'm a Francis father, and how grateful I am. Do not be afraid, just have faith. The gospel story today, we hear the exchange between Jesus and Jairus, highlight just that. Jesus invites Jairus to a deeper, a higher degree of faith. Faith in Jesus is necessary. It's the essential disposition for you and for me in ways that we can do his miraculous works. My brothers and sisters, you come here today asking lots of questions. Where is the Lord taking you? Is he going to take you and your mom to St. Peter's someday? Or perhaps back to Steubenville, unless you're here already, and maybe somewhere else. But you first have to begin with the words of Jesus. Those same words that World Youth Day after World Youth Day after World Youth Day, St. John Paul would say to the youth, do not be afraid. I'm reminded of that because I have a poster. After having been to the funeral of St. John Paul in Rome, I have a poster downstairs right near my sitting room, and it's St. John Paul saying, do not be afraid. Have hope. Now, I say that because right now, as many of you may be aware, we're in the midst of the days of the Fortnight for Freedom. Here in the United States, we are celebrating not just our right to worship, but the freedom for us to live our faith. You have the freedom to worship in communist countries. No. But the freedom to live our faith, that's who we are as Americans, and that's who you are. Do not be afraid. Just have faith. In the wake of the tragic decision in Washington, D.C., which has compromised the very foundation of marriage, Jesus says, do not be afraid, just have faith. This day, Jesus draws us closer to him, saying, no whining allowed. No whining allowed. That should have been my Episcopal motto. I'm taking these words from Cardinal DiNardo last year at our graduation, where honorary doctorate classmates, Franciscan University was very kind to elevate my status academically to have a degree from Franciscan University. And I remember how His Eminence said, we cannot be whiners when it comes to the Catholic faith. We must be doers. Whining is easy. Doing is more effective. I am grateful here this day to be in the presence of my brother clergy, especially my brother priests. But our being consecrated to the Lord in the priesthood does not necessarily make us more holy than you. We have to work at it. We have to answer to Jesus. Just because I get to wear a pointed hat and carry a big stick at Mass does not mean I'm going to get to heaven before you. I must work at it. I must model my life after the Good Shepherd. And that means to be a faithful leader. That means to pray. That means to go to confession. That means to be your bishop and your Christian brother. What does this mean? For one, you future priests out there, especially you priests, future priests for the Diocese of Steubenville, as well as for the Franciscans, I better say that, otherwise I will not be invited back. Remember, as priests, we are members of the band of brothers, declaring to all, do not be afraid, just have faith. You future consecrated women and men will bear witness to the one who is the only way, the only truth, and yes, the only life, by declaring through the charisms of your consecrated life, do not be afraid. Just have faith. You future husbands and wives who will supply me with future priests, as well as consecrated men and women, must also have faith. Do not be afraid. To this end, Jesus invites us to go out with the Christian resolve and to share with our family and friends the words of Jesus. Just have faith. I, the Lord of wind and flame, I will tend the poor and lame. I will set a feast for them. My hand will save. Finest bread I will provide, till their hearts be satisfied. I will give my life to them. Whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart. God bless you all.